Hello. Okay, let me just fix my mic. It shows this perfect moment, this exact time to actually disentangle itself from disassemble itself. Sorry. 1 second. Hello. How is everybody? Hi. Okay, let me say hi to everyone. My dog is in my mom's bedroom. He refuses to come here. Okay, he's abandoning me again. Let me say hi to everyone. Nadira, Robin Bryce, Hanako Grace, Z Arashi, Lisa Parker, Shelling, Amy, Genesis, Elazar, Sarah, OSP, Z Arashi, Michelle Santiago, Jax, Silver Star, Jolie Leah, Alta 444. Can you hear my AC? Do you hear my AC? Carol Faye, Jolie, Aspen, PZ48128, Carla Girl, Marilyn Montalvo, Warren R, Genesis Arlene, Pia Sembleben, Hanako Grace, Christy, Courtney, Jax, Lisa Parker, Kez M, Salmart, Elaine Salvador. Oh, my dog is here. I didn't know my dog is here. I thought he was with my mom. Come here. I thought he was in my mom's room. Come on. Why were you so quiet? You say hi to everybody first. Say hi to everybody first. Say hi. I'm here. I'm here. I'm not in my mommy's room. I'm in here. Say hi to everybody. Hi. Say hi. Say hi to everybody, baby. Show yourself. Show yourself to everybody. Say, I'm going to get grooming on Thursday. Say hi to everybody. Okay, you can lie down there. Where am I? Where was I? Elaine, Salmart, Amy C, Yvonne, Christy, Warren, Shelling, Halinao, Bomac, Jolie, OT71013, Nadira, Dodger Girl, Amy C, Silver Star, W Gone 69, Moonchild, Hanako Grace, Imelda Calderon, Ritsaki, Rose, Helene Erickson, Neil Vanel, Cindy, Andy Big Night, Lindsay, Nadira, Joyful One, Moonchild, Leah Warburton, Share Your Love, Joyful One, Katya, Nana, Maritz, Elaine Salvador, Alta Forf Jolie, Dodger Girlies on Twitch, Hello Twitch people, Seven Purple Pearls, Iris, Hanako Grace, Donna, Lisa, OT7, 1013, LA Reina. Lorena is also on Twitch. Moonchild, Letitia, Lindsay, Debak, they're saying hi to you. Seven Purple Pearls, Iris, Arazi, Z Arashi, Lindsay Elizar, Ritz Saki. Where the heck is Saki? Leah Warburton, Christy, Warren, Ronan, Silver Star, Share Your Love, um, Elizabeth, Nadira, Carol Faye, Iris Matthew, Nigma Price, Ritz, Silky, Eliz. Okay, I think those are everyone. Hello, everybody. How are you? How is everybody today? So I am supposed to everyone is back in Korea. All BTS members are back in Korea. J Hope came back yesterday, and today like several minutes ago it was JK. And I think magandang umaga. She said good morning. I guess it's morning in Korea, in the Philippines. She's from the Philippines. Now it is very hot in LA. So all seven members are back in Korea. I think 2 days ago or yesterday, J Hope came back from Europe for some Galaxy um, activities. And then Jungkook had some personal stuff in the probably a shoot, maybe recording, who knows. I stayed in LA for 2 more days and then he came back just several minutes ago. So all seven of them are back in Korea. I like it that they are actually able to come back in the middle of a tour. They're able to recharge. Probably they have some things going on as well in Korea. They probably have personal schedules, or maybe they just are given those 2 weeks to rest, which I think is good. They are back in Korea. They have a 2 week gap um between the last concert and the next concert in New Jersey. So yeah, they're back in Korea, all seven of them. So I guess it's either a break or they probably have some personal projects or both. Maybe they're gonna rest for a week and then some personal projects for a week. Who knows? But at least they're back in Korea, and that's good that at least they get to come back home for a bit. Um, JK was not letting anyone take pictures of his face. Yeah, yeah, he wasn't. 10-day break. Yeah, a 10-day break. Yes. So yeah, that's good. They weren't able to do that before when they were touring. They really would just be out of Korea for like 4 months straight. And I think it's healthier this way. They've repeatedly mentioned that they actually are happy about their schedules because it allows them to do other things, explore the city where they're in. So I hope that continues. So the next one would be MetLife, August 1st. Was it August 1st? It'll be August 1st. So good, right? And then also, Stade de France actually posted on their official IG that the official count of the number of tickets sold for 2 days, it was 182,000. So that makes it 92,500, something like that. It was 182. So it was like 92,500 per day in Paris. So initially, people said it was 88, and then it became 92, and now they said it's 92,500. So it's still unverified. It could be the biggest ever concert in Stade de France. They haven't declared it, but it could very well be the biggest paid concert anyone has ever had. So they went through some of the other concerts that happened in their stadium that included The Weekend, Bruno Mars, um Zed, was it? There was a like a DJ there, and none came close. Some did 80,000, which effectively allows them to sell all seated uh tickets, but BTS is the one that have gone above 90. So that's official because that came from the venue. So that's good. Um, so yeah, so there were 92,500 bots that attended the concert. They were very good looking bots. I guess we're becoming more sophisticated now because they look like human beings. If you watch them, they look like human beings there. But bots, you don't know what they actually look like now. So great for them. Also, there was the okay, we're going to talk about all the debuts later. So there's actually one topic I want to talk about today that I did not include in the list of topics that I was supposed to cover, but I thought is very important. And this is so we're going to be talking about the interview of RM um, that happened in Fashion Neurosis. He's so cute. Look at him. You have such a cute leader. And then we're going to be talking about some of the rookie groups. And then I want to talk about this woman. Her name is Pietra Bertolazzi. So so I'll talk about her because I thought what happened, what she said, and the reaction of armies, that's pretty significant. And then we'll talk about RM, and then we'll talk about rookie groups. And I think realistically, those are the things that I can cover. Um, Business wise, I don't get why Wembley did that. I don't either, but I also kind of get it. Uh, One of the when the woman who works for Wembley kind of explained it, the one thing that stood out to me was the fact that she said many of the staff members of Wembley are new, and they did not know the impact of BTS, and that's probably why they preferred giving it to the other person. Now, I thought she was being nice, and probably one of the things, this the sub message of what she actually said was that the decision that was made to give it to not to give it to BTS was just as much wasn't really purely based on business. I think that's what she was saying, that because if it was purely based on business, then they would have seen the record of BTS and they would have realized that it would have been a better business decision to actually give it to BTS. Now, there are research, supposedly there are research that um have actually that are supposed to actually that are usually, aside from the agency, whoever the promoter is, the stadium itself is supposed to have their own study for them to determine who is going to give them better returns. So there is supposed to be research, but I think her point is that it wasn't purely based on business. I think that's what she was saying, and she couldn't say it because she had to remain professional. And so she said that, you have to understand that a lot of staff members are new and young and did not know the impact of BTS, which I thought was like, yeah, if you've ever been PR trained, which I'm sure she has been, one of the tricks that you do when you are being asked about, or if you're addressing a mistake that was like blatantly a mistake, one of the things that you do is to sort of blame it on something inevitable, and that something that is not human, caused by a human, because then you won't be, as a person, you're not going to appear as if you're blaming somebody. This is a PR trick, by the way. it's not going to appear like you're blaming somebody, but at the same time, you're also giving people enough things to think about, enough space to think about the real reason for what actually happened. So that's one of the tricks. If you're being asked about something that would put someone in trouble, because the last thing that you want to do is point fingers. That's very unprofessional in any kind of setting. Even if it is clearly the other person's fault, you try not to blame other person. So the other people, sorry. So I think that was the main error. But anyway, you can visit the Instagram account of Stade France if you want to see the numbers. It's actually a carousel. So I think the first picture says Merci. I don't know how to pronounce it properly. And then there's Bruno Mars and then other performers. And BTS is actually one of them. And you're going to see the number of tickets that they sold. So I that's official because that came from the venue itself. Now I know that in about down the line, Box Score will be releasing their own numbers, and then Polestar will be releasing their own numbers. They're like different numbers. Most of the time for Polestar and for Box Score, they don't really include the production release tickets. I don't know if Stade de France actually included it. So just keep that in mind. There will always be a difference between all those three. And then, of course, Big Hit announces their own um, numbers as well. So, okay. But 92,500 would make it the biggest audience that they've had in this tour and probably all the other tours that they've ever had. And as I've said, pending the confirmation of Stade de France, it looks like it's going to be the biggest crowd they've ever had for any paid concert. So let's wait for the confirmation for any act. We know that it is the biggest for an Asian act, but most likely the biggest period in general. Okay. Um, Harry Styles is still in Wembley. How is it going for him? Not really good. Not really good. It hasn't sold out. I mean, okay, sorry. Let me clarify that. It's not sold out, but I guess it's okay. There are some tickets sold. Not a lot, but not sold out, I mean, but still pretty good. Okay, so let's talk about this woman first. She is a so when I woke up, there was this whole controversy about this woman uh getting the heat from armies for saying some uh it, throwing insults at BTS. So I'll tell you what happened. So she is an influencer. She's a conservative influencer, and she's not from the US. She's from Spain. Wait a minute. My system is buffering. Someone actually said that it's probably time for me to replace my computer, and that's probably true. So I might do that next week. I'll see if I can get a new computer. Um, I actually have a backup computer. I might start using that and see if that's going to perform better. Okay, so all right. So she posted on her Instagram story. So she's like a religious content creator, very, very much not just conservative politically, but also conservative on her beliefs, like value wise, because she's Catholic. Okay. Now, this is the newspaper that wrote about what she actually said on her Instagram story because after 24 hours, it actually went away. So, this is her post. I mean, this is a screen cap of what she posted. And then this is the translation. Sorry, this is the actual screen cap of her Instagram story. She could be Brazilian, probably Brazilian. And then this is the translation. She said, "Of everything I saw today at the World Cup final, nothing shocked me more than learning that a group of totally effeminate men, vain and full of faces and mouths, gave me true secondhand embarrassment. I don't know who they are and I don't want to know. And is one of the biggest role models this current generation has. It's not possible that most people don't realize how serious this is." That's what she said, or at least the AI translation of what she said. AI, not woman translation. Not sorry, not woman. That not human translation. It's AI translation. Okay, so that's apparently what she said. Now, Unconfirmed, after that, of course, she got the backlash from armies. And BTS fans allegedly, armies allegedly grabbed her information and signed her up as a polling station worker for the election in every state in her country. So she's catching so much flack that she's decided she was going to take a break. So I believe, according to some people, she went private, or at the very least announced that she was going to go private for now. She's going to take a break. Okay. Now, of course, that's like just one of the many things armies are doing, but this is the most prominent and allegedly what made her go on private is that she was signed up because she kind of realized that not kind of, but she realized that armies actually got hold of her personal information. That's the only way they could have signed her up for to becoming a an election worker in the coming elections. Okay. So all right. So I don't want to, because I don't understand her language. I don't speak her language, sorry. I don't really want to comment much on what she says on her podcasts and on her show or YouTube or Instagram or whatever. Primarily because I don't know that for sure, because I don't understand what she's writing. I've heard that from just from content creators and other content creators, and also people that are sending me messages on on X and Facebook. They said that um she's very conservative value wise. She's very conservative. She's Catholic. So a lot of her beliefs are based on what the religion teaches. Okay. Um, I did ask if she ever said that she's against woman voting. The person I was speaking with said she has never heard that personally. But she heard from other people that she said she does not like females voting, but she can't say for sure, the person that was talking to me. So let me just get that clear. All right. So that I believe is less important than what she actually said about BTS. I mean, those are anyway. Okay, let's proceed. Just I guess what I was trying to say is that um, not everything that people could evolve. That's one. Second is that we don't know for sure unless we actually listen to her, understand what she's saying. Um, okay, yeah, and most of the time, um, people tend to be taken out of context. So I don't want to talk about the things that she said in the past. Okay, now I wanted to talk about this primarily because I think it is important for us to understand what is constructive criticism and what is destructive criticism, which I've spoken about several times already. But I just feel that this is a great opportunity for us to kind of discuss it again. And second is that I know that a lot of you are sending me like messages, suggestions, and how I can improve my videos and this live stream. And please do know that I appreciate them, because all of the messages so far, thus far, I guess 99% of those that I get actually mean well. So I do not mind it at all. So you can be blunt. I don't mind it, especially when I recognize the name. I know that you guys are looking after me, so I don't mind that. Okay, so that is just, I digress. Okay, so um she the obviously what she said is not constructive criticism. Because constructive criticisms actually look or concentrate into the skills or the actual work itself or the behavior. So it's not really about who the person is. It should be about what did the person do and how can they improve. And with the way that she talked about BTS, it was all about their identity, their styling, which really has nothing to do with their singing or the music that they make. And the mere fact that she did not even talk about the performance itself and just talked about how effeminate they were, definitely a sign that she's not concerned or interested about helping other people elevate themselves or improve. She's just interested about either promoting what she believes or destroying other people. Okay. Okay, next. So, one example of constructive criticism is, for example, if you want to talk about a song, you can say, oh, the lyrics felt repetitive, or the concert pacing lost momentum in the middle. They shouldn't have taken a break because from a high, you go this, something like that. Destructive is exactly what you said. They look feminine, or that real men don't dress like that, or that they're wearing makeup, because those things don't have anything to do with the music itself. Okay. So clearly a sign of destructive criticism and not constructive criticism. Next. Um, Usually constructive criticism has a purpose. Like again, when you guys message me about how to improve the live stream or the videos, or when you suggest topics, obviously the end game is to try and improve how I do things, probably to help the channel grow and stuff like that. And the main way to determine whether that has a purpose is to ask yourself whether or not, if sorry, is to ask yourself, if they accept this criticism tomorrow, what could they actually do differently, right? So again, when she talked about them wearing makeup, being effeminate, that has nothing, that's not going to make any kind of change in BTS's music. So again, a sign of destructive criticism. I'm tired of hate pretending to be religion. Okay. Next. So, one example of that would be if someone says the mixing in this album buried the vocals. Like it's too loud. Everything else is too loud. I can't hear the vocals. That's actionable because if they take in the criticism, if they follow the suggestion, or if they do something about it, the outcome would be that they could actually end up with a better sounding album that highlights the vocals. Um, so so actionable, and it has to serve a purpose, and usually that should be improvement. Okay. Another one would be the stage camera work made the choreography hard to appreciate, or something like that. So constructive criticism also separates preference from quality. I acknowledge that probably she personally doesn't like men who wears makeup. She probably doesn't like men who wears colorful clothes. And if she doesn't like that, that's fine. It's just that just because you don't like it doesn't make it bad. And I think it is high time for people to start practicing the fact that, hi, thank you, Vera Fran, thank you. She's a fake conservative who's always saying controversial stuff to get attention. She was homophobic and xenophobic, Vera said. Okay. So in all honesty, I've not religiously listened. This is the first time I've actually encountered her. So I've never listened to her. So according to Vera, she is a fake conservative who's always saying controversial stuff to get attention. She was homophobic and xenophobic. So just because you don't like something doesn't make it objectively bad. And I think it's high time for people to make that distinction when they're talking about an artist or anything, right? When you hear a song, just because you don't like it doesn't make it objectively bad. If it is objectively bad, then it has to be defensible. Defensible. You should be able to say what made it the objectively bad. Okay, next. Um, and of course, constructive criticism uses evidence. So there has to be specific things that you can pinpoint that made it what it is that you're claiming it to be. If you say that the choreography is not synchronized, then you should be able to do screen caps or screen recordings that would show to everybody that they were not synchronized when they were dancing. If you say that this is a bad song because uh, the lyrics are bad, then you should be able to specifically mention what parts of the lyrics were actually bad. Okay. On the other hand, bad criticism relies on labels. And when she said they're fake, they're effeminate, those are labels. And it has again nothing to do with their music. And this is also why I discourage people. I know that you've noticed in my in Patreon or whatever that I've constantly asked people to stop calling other people names. Because the more you call someone something, the more you get convinced that that person is what you are calling him. Right? So for example, if you call somebody evil, for example, oh, that evil guy, or you refuse to call that person by name, instead you call him by some sort of an insult. The result is that instead of you being able to objectively pinpoint what are the bad things about that person and what are the good things about that person, you reinforce your belief that that's an evil person without having to look for evidence. So try not to call people by name because that reinforces your bias instead of making you an objective person. Okay. Um Next, hi Reg Spear. Constructive criticisms also constructive criticism avoids logical fallacies. So instead of discussing the performance, she attacked their hairstyle, their makeup, their gender identity, or at least what she claims to be their gender identity. So number one, it really is nobody's business what their gender identity is. Whether they're gay, straight, that's nobody's business unless they made it. Since they've never spoken about it, then we shouldn't either. The mere fact that she concentrated on that showed you the kind of ethics that she has. Okay, next. Constructive criticism does not rely on stereotypes. Again, what you said about BTS is a stereotype. And I think my biggest issue is that in the way that she talked, she used effeminate as an insult. She was insulting BTS by calling them effeminate, which suggests that femininity itself is inferior or shameful, right? Because if you call someone you're don't date that guy, he's effeminate, you're automatically positioning femininity as something inferior than masculinity. And it's not. Those two things are different. But that's what she implied. Maybe she's pretty because BTS is pretty. She's angry because BTS is prettier than her. Constructive criticism also recognizes expertise. If if you stick to what they're doing, then you are recognizing that person for what they do. The singer's breath support collapses during high notes. That is a discussion about music. The violinist has poor bow control. They're discussing violin. So that's how you criticize someone. You stick to what they do, not on what they're wearing or the makeup, the way that they are wearing their makeup or hairstyle. But if someone criticizes singing by saying their haircut looks ridiculous or she was or he was acting effeminate during that song, that's not about music. That's about identity. Next, Pinayon says she's the Brazilian, I think, the Brazilian woman. I'll show the picture again in a bit. Um, so and then the other thing is that when you are constructively criticizing, you have to leave room for disagreement, sorry. So it has to be, in my opinion, the way you phrase it has to be, in my opinion, or I found that, or it didn't work for me because you need to allow other people you need to give them the space to discuss with you and to argue. If you say something absolute, then that's not a discussion that you are promoting. So that's one sign. That's one way for you to be able to provide constructive criticism. In my opinion, I found it didn't work for me because, or if you don't, for example, you just don't like something, but you don't have the energy to explain why, you can just say, oh, it didn't work for me. It's just my personal taste. Then you're not saying something absolute. You're not claiming it to be bad. You're just saying it doesn't fit you. Um, I've done that several times. I've said, for example, for Idol, I did say that I actually respect their musicality. I respect their creative direction. I respect how Soyeon actually runs the group, the way she leads the group. But it's just not for me. I could explain. I just don't have the energy to do it. Maybe if enough people ask, then I have the energy. But it's just like, yeah, it's just simply not for me. Okay. But so many people are the ultimate authority on everything. Yeah, that's true. That's why I keep on saying always be careful about who you believe and who you subscribe to on different social media. Okay, next. Um, but that's the point. They believe that their opinion is absolute. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Yeah. But let's not contribute to it. Let's start the practice of actually clearly stating what is fact and what is an opinion. So destructive criticism, that is just what you guys were saying, sounds absolute. This is garbage. These people are everything that is wrong in the society. They're ruining masculinity. I can't believe they blah blah blah. They're like, what are you? How are you going to argue that? How are you going to? And arguing is not necessarily bad. Just because you're having a conversation and disagreeing does not make it bad. But if you don't leave the space for other people to have a conversation with you, then that's not criticism. And yes, that's how a lot of people operate. They will say something that leaves you nothing, that leaves you no room to actually have a conversation with them. It seems that they are promoting their opinion as facts. Now, and of course, this is the most important. A constructive criticism respects human dignity. So you can strongly dislike someone's music, you can dislike their fashion, but the person can completely reject BTS artistic style while still acknowledging that there are millions of people, millions upon millions of people that actually resonate and love them. Those two can coexist at the same time. You can say that their music is bad, but also acknowledge that their music is affecting millions of people in a good way. So it human dignity respecting that is still very very vital. Now, I just want to make something clear that BTS themselves have actually distinguished criticism from hate. If you would remember, the song They Don't Know About Us was supposedly about encouraging people and fans specifically to give them constructive criticism, right? They said that one of the things, the key phrase for that song was supposedly, you make me weak. And that was because armies put them on a pedestal, they don't hear any constructive criticism anymore, which gives them no space to improve. They're actually encouraging people to give them constructive criticism. So they are welcoming it. There's nothing wrong with giving them constructive criticism, but that does not give them that you get to insult them. It really has to be constructive criticism. So also, I wish armies would actually welcome when people are giving their honest to goodness, objective, constructive criticism. Now, this part is unconfirmed that BTS allegedly grabbed her information and signed her up as a polling station worker for the next election. And allegedly, they did it for every state in where she actually lives. It's unconfirmed. It's just that people were saying that's what happened. Now, if it is true that this is all Army did, I do have to acknowledge that I do find it funny. That part I acknowledge. I find it funny. But not everything I find funny is appropriate, right? So those two things can coexist at the same time. Something can be inappropriate and also funny. And I thought this is one of those things. When I heard that that's what BTS armies did, I was like, yes, of course. It's of course armies are gonna do. And I was like, a good thing that it was just for the election. So they didn't sign you up to actually volunteer to every animal shelter, donate your blood to every Red Cross station in the country. I mean, consider yourself lucky BT armies didn't do that. So I had to get it out and I had to acknowledge that that was really funny. I'm actually really as one of the funniest things that armies did. Do you want to go down, baby? I have no feeling on my legs anymore. My blood is not flowing to my legs. You have to say goodbye now. Say goodbye to them. Say goodbye. Okay. I think he might want to go out. You want to go out? Okay. So, all right. I have to acknowledge that that was pretty funny. And when I heard about it, I was like, well, consider yourself lucky that they did not sign you up to volunteer to every animal shelter to donate your blood every month in the Red Cross. That I mean, consider yourself lucky, girl. Anyway, but again, just because it was funny doesn't make it. It was really funny. I guess now she will find out. Thank you. Thank you, Dummy Dumb 89. I guess she will now find out who BTS is and more so BTS Army. Yeah, if she's taking a break from social media, I wish that she would just start searching about BTS and finally get to know who BTS is. But that was top tier. That is how that is absolutely how you respond to someone who's trying to insult you. Army allegedly. Thank you. Okay, wait. I'm laughing too much. I can't see the screen. Okay, wait. Verifan Army allegedly signed her to the for the left party. And to receive the current left administration was there. Okay, so she might at least end up being in the middle. If she's conservative and she got signed up. This is absolutely funny. 90% of societal norms are construct. Masculinity is a construct. Okay, um, so so again, I acknowledge that it's funny. It's really, I mean, you just gotta count on armies when it comes to something like this. You can't. They're unmatched. Armies are unmatched. You can, you'll never win. Okay. Um, so I think it comes from watching so many Run BTS episodes. It could be. It could be. This is very, very, very much a Jin move. I have to say. Maybe the ones who did it are Jin bias. It's so Jin. This move was actually so Jin. Okay, so sorry, I'm still laughing. I can't see the screen. Okay. So, however, despite my laughter and despite my amusement, I do have to acknowledge that it's not appropriate. Just because something is funny doesn't make it right. Okay, just because it made me laugh does not make it right. So it's not that I actually agree with what they said. I just have to agree that it is absolutely funny. So sorry. I'm trying to control my laughter. Okay. So karma is an army. Army response legendary. It's absolutely legendary, Lady Pink. Thank you so much. Okay. So let me get this out because it's important that I have to say it. People are going to screen cap this exact moment and say that I just tolerated something that is not supposed to be tolerated. Okay. So just because something made me laugh does not make it right. Okay, I'm not saying that just because I said it is funny does not make it right. Okay, but it's still funny. It is still funny. Okay, so I guess it's kind of the same as when I got into this business, the business of content creation. I get a lot of toxic responses. Some of the responses are, and the messages are actually funny or witty. Some are just distractive. Some can actually push someone over the edge if you really think about it. I've shared some of those screen caps of those responses and emails to you guys. So you know how bad it can really be. But and whenever sometimes I would get a message that is just plain that like that's actually meant to insult me, but it's just plain and downright like just funny. Like it's witty. The way that they wrote it is witty. um and it makes me laugh even though it's actually meant to insult me and whatever. But but it doesn't make it right. Just because it made me laugh does not make it right that they are insulting me that way. And so it's just that to a certain extent, I knew that when I got into this business, into this type of business, that I would also get messages like that. And so it was like, yeah, I get it. And like, it's something that I expect and something that I've learned how to deal with. It doesn't affect me anymore, but sometimes it does make me laugh. But again, it doesn't make it right. Just because it is funny does not make it right. Okay. Next is if it is true that this is all armies did, it is different from doxing because it's not like they publish their private information, her private information. Uh, that's very different. I mean, if they doxed her and actually published her home address and workplace and phone number, then that's definitely something that I will just downright say no, 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 no. Um, it's still very, it's still something that um we can classify as harassment because the army's purpose is not to engage her in a conversation, it's just to inconvenience her. So to a certain extent it's still very much an argument, but um it's retaliation, right? It's retaliation. You inconvenience us, so we're going to inconvenience you too. So that's very much retaliation. Next. Now, um, the intent matter as well, as I've said, because some fans probably, I do think that some fans viewed it as a prank. They viewed it to irritate her. And we've all gone through um um, we have that side of us in all of us. Right, that sometimes you kind of just want to like, okay, you wanna one up me, I'll one up you, something like that. And we go through, even no matter how old we are, we still go through things like that. So um it's just, it is what it is to a certain extent, but again, it does not make it right. So just want to make it clear actually that while I find it absolutely hilarious what this woman did, I am in no way tolerating and saying that how armies responded was actually acceptable. So someone was asking who this woman is. So her name is Pietra Bertolazzi. Bertolazzi. She's a content creator, influencer, um, like on the conservative side, value wise, she's on the conservative side, and she insulted BTS. Okay, so just wanted to get that out of the way because a lot of armies were asking me about it. Yes, I absolutely do find it hilarious and funny. And I do acknowledge that, to many armies, they probably recognize there's no discussing with this woman. So, yes, I find it funny. It doesn't make it right. And I always say that um, we try to have a conversation. The very reason if you would remember in my post about this person, this rapper who started talking about J Hope, mentioned J Hope about how J Cole could have collaborated with uh, real rappers instead. J Cole, how J Cole could have collaborated with real Korean rappers. He ended up collaborating with popular people or idols. So one of the reasons I did not mention the name of that person is because I don't want the conversation to be about him. I don't want. I want it to be about the situation, like what prompted him to say that. So I always try to sort of promote having a conversation instead of just venting. I guess it's okay for people to vent as well, but for me, I try to always have a conversation. So although a lot of people may be right, I guess you guys may be right in saying that there is no reasoning with people like this. That's probably right, but on my end it's like you always got to try. You always got to try to have a conversation, like there's to the very end, like you try to have a conversation. So that's it. Okay. I was afraid that football fans would bash BTS. That hasn't been, at least in my experience, that hasn't been the effect of what actually happened. It seemed that many fans, actually many locals, at least in the US because that's where the concentration of my feed is coming from. They are actually pretty impressed with BTS. Many actually said that BTS should have performed alone. The others weren't needed. A lot of them were surprised um, with how well they actually sang live, with how well they performed, how well they actually carried their set. And so, yeah, I think many were actually positively reacting to it. Um, yeah. Okay. There is this other content creator, I believe he's British, who said something very criminal. Not criminal, but it could be criminal. She said that BTS members touched children. And I think he was reported and he suddenly backtracked, said that, oh, that did not come from me. I just read it from somewhere or whatever. But I guess he apologized or something. I purposely did not go to his page to listen to him because I did not want to give him impressions or engagements. But there was someone who forwarded a video of him saying that exact same thing. So he said that, oh, they're this and they're that. And like it's the worst thing that I've ever watched. And some of them touch children. He said that. And that I thought was like, wow, that's one thing to actually say, oh, they're bad singers and bad dancers or whatever, but to actually accuse someone, that's serious. People should stop making it a joke. Um, that is not remotely funny for me. There's a lot of things that I find funny, as you can see. That is not one of them. So I think he was already reported because he backtracked. Okay. Okay. Next. Should any questions before I move on to RM or cute or cute leader? I reported him to Hybe. I saw that craziness. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things. A lot of so especially when you become a content creator, you kind of become um so used to that kind of thing. So a lot of these things I tend to not pay attention to. But when you say something like that, that's pretty serious. So I'm glad that he got reported. I tried as well. Not tried. I actually reported him. I submitted the form on social media. I This is one of those moments when I really hope that he gets sued for what he said. That's not a joke at all. That's not something you make fun of. That rape, things like that, you don't say. That's not you don't joke about those matters. Um, Carla girl, she also sent a screenshot to hide. Okay. All right. So let's go to RM, the RM interview. I wish you all tell me so that I can report him. I can leave a link, or if any one of you would like to leave a link and also screenshots on Discord or on Patreon, go ahead and do that. But I will also post it later so that you can report him. Okay, let's go to RM. All right, our very cute leader. Okay, just wanna. I think this is one of like the good interviews he's had personally. There are just some things that I wish the host actually expounded on. It may be the language barrier between the two, but I thought there were some like RM was actually dropping some gems that I wished she picked up and expounded on further for a better interview. But overall, I think it was like very insightful. He did disclose and said things that he has never said before, which we're going to be going through. So overall, I really, really like it. I hope that many more interviews like this actually come to them. So one is that when he said, so he was talking about, I think this was in the early part of the conversation. They were talking about humility, and the question was something about are that they are so humble in their success that is not something that is common among pop stars. I think that was the question. And RM, let me just close some windows so that it doesn't eat up my memory. Okay. So, oh, one more. Let me close all of this. All right. Um, so and then he was talking and he said something about I chose, so it was about fame, and then he said I chose fame, I chose this, I chose to be famous, and then he backtracked and he said no, no, he said something like that, and I said, and he said something like fans made me famous. So I may be paraphrasing a little bit. I think it's because of the I'm trying to interpret it the best way that I can, because as you know there is a huge language barrier between the two. So you can actually feel that in the interview, RM wanted to say more things, but he's kind of grappling for words. It doesn't make him bad at English or whatever, but I think he was just there was just so much depth that he wanted to express that wasn't quite covered by I guess his vocabulary or something like that. So I'm trying to interpret it. So this is one of those moments when he said, I chose to be famous. They were talking about like the effects of fame, and he said, I chose to be famous. And then he backtracked and he said, no, no, no. He said that it was given to me. He didn't choose it, it was given to me. And I think what he ultimately meant was that fans made me famous. Like this fame is something that um he had also because of the support of armies. It wasn't just his own. And my initial reaction was that, oh my God, can you hear the cultural influence in that statement? This is one glaring example of how much their culture actually influences the way that they work and how they view their success, and but not talked about often enough. Usually for Asians and a lot of and Koreans specifically, we view achievements as a confluence of different factors, which includes other people, which is very, very much different than how Westerners actually view success, right? Um, I'm not bashing either. It's just two different concepts, but neither is the best and neither is the worst. It's just each has their own advantages and disadvantages. Now, there are several cultural psychologists like Hazel Marcus or Shinobu Kitayama who actually talked about this, the difference between the Western and the Eastern concept of success and fame. So it's more about the independent and interdependent self. So essentially the for many Western cultures, it's about my achievement. Like I achieved this, I followed my dream, I made my own success. Again, I'm not bashing either, okay? Um, and then for many Eastern culture, it's about I succeeded because many people contributed to it. My achievements reflect the support of others, and no one succeeds entirely alone. So that's why there is always the tendency, if you would observe, they always have the tendency to credit other people as part of their success. So when they say things like, we exist because of Army, this award belongs to Army, Army's got an award, we could have not done this without Army or without you. Or even when they credit their staff, we want to thank the staff members, the company helped us, or even themselves. Like he would always say, each member would say like, oh, we got here because of the members or whatever, because they helped me or whatever. It's all because in their mind, their primary concept of success um, is a communal thing. It's not something that you achieve on your own. So uh, I hope that gives you a clearer understanding on how much the culture actually really influence how they think. Okay, next. Um, also he talked about work ethic. At one point, he did talk about how Korea's work ethic is actually so intense that he has some sort of a love-hate relationship with it. There's an aspect of it that he loves and an aspect of it that he hates. But he also did say, and this is not the first time he said it, he also said that RM often explains himself not just through sorry, he also said that um Of course, like if you look at the history of Korea and how fast it actually became a first world country, he said that, of course, there's going to be pain. Like, of course, it's going to be intense. You don't become that successful that fast if you didn't make sacrifices. So, RM often explains himself not just through his own choices, but through Korea's history and the environment that shaped him. And that is also very important in if we want to understand how they write, how they think, and how they work. Because for them, a lot of the who they have become is also because of what they have gone through. So as much as I always say that, yes, I do want them to do less business in South Korea simply because they are being targeted so much. But I also often say that at the end of the day, they're still Koreans and they still love their country. And part of it is because of this, because they process a lot of their experiences and they shape and they make their decisions also based on their history because of what the history passed down to them. And they're aware of how much the sacrifices of the past generations allow them to have what they have right now. And also, they wouldn't have been shaped the way that they were shaped if it wasn't because of their history. So, while I do still think that they should do less business in South Korea simply because they are being targeted so much, I also know that they will never leave Korea. They love that country. It has made them who they are. Okay. Um, so it's also important to understand, and this is something that I wish everyone would just recognize and start doing actually, is that he's not calling Korea's work ethic good or bad. He's just saying something like it came from somewhere. Like we became who we are because of the things that we have experienced. So that came from history. And I kind of feel that if everyone actually starts sort of thinking this way, understanding where the motivations are coming from, I think we're just going to be generally a more peaceful society. So let's learn from RM. Okay, next. Um, Within a few generations, Korea actually went from Japanese colonial rule, the devastation of Korean War, and then widespread poverty in the 50s. They were liberated in the 78, I think, in 80s or something like that. So right after that, from 80s up until there was even a point in their history where their country actually collected all the gold of their people to help the government. So they had everyone surrender voluntarily. They encourage everyone to surrender their gold so that it could help the government in putting together programs and setting the country back on track. So that essentially is what, two generations, three generations from that time to where they are right now. It's extremely fast. So whenever people say that, um, that Asians, specifically Koreans, are so intense, that we're so focused, that we put so much pressure on ourselves, well, this is what it resulted to. So I hope that we kind of understand that whenever we look at Asians and look at how we work and how we study, why we have tiger moms and why we're always pressured to study and be better than everyone else. It's all because of the history that we've gone through, and for specifically for South Korea, that's why they are the miracle of Han. The intensity has brought them the kind of prosperity that they are enjoying. Okay, next. Um, so he did say something. This is probably what is like tweeted about the most. He was asked about what actually attracts him, like romantic attraction. And he said that it's contradiction. So he likes someone that actually presents contradictions, like someone who can talk politics but also talks about the mundane things. And he said, because this is actually about fashion, supposedly this live's podcast is actually about passion, sorry, fashion, not passion, fashion. he was actually being asked initially about, like, is there, can someone wear something that will turn you off, basically was the question. And he said initially, like when he was younger, that it's possible for him to be turned off just because, like the person for everything that person is. And then also still, if that person ends up wearing something that he doesn't like, he will get turned off. He said, yeah, when I was younger. But eventually he said that, he kind of matured and realized that, fashion is subjective, and they may wear something I don't like, doesn't make them a bad person. Um, now, it is so there's so a lot of armies are like saying, I'm full of contradictions. how can you how can I meet RM? So I thought, so he does have initially, I don't know, I'm trying to be safe. So I know that initially, like in the early days of BTS, I don't know if you know this, but in the early days of BTS, he actually said several times that one of the things that he really wants is to become a father. He really wanted to become a father. He wants to become a husband and a father. Now, as time went on, he kind of lost that. He said that he stopped actually wanting that for himself. And at some point he said he doesn't even know if he should get married or if he will get married. So some armies are theorizing that that's because he came from a painful relationship. I don't know. He's not sharing it, so it's none of our business. This is what he's saying. So it seems that it's in play. If you if there are armies out there who are hoping to have a chance at RM, I guess the romantic relationship is in play for him. It's not impossible for him to get married. He's just saying that he would enjoy he would enjoy it if he is with someone who has contradictions. So I guess someone who can be silly and also be profound, can talk about politics and science and philosophical things, but can also talk about Pokemon or clothing or stuff like that. So if you ever have any kind of uh, desire to be noticed by RM, just present him some contradiction. Okay. I think the six kids drove him crazy. It could be that. But also, we're actually going to be talking about, because he said some things in the interview that could actually provide us like an idea on how he thinks. Okay, this is one of the questions or subjects that they talked about that I wish the interviewer pushed a little bit more of. Because as I've said, in the entirety of the interview, he was dropping a lot of gems that I thought the interviewer could have picked up a little bit more. I'm not saying it's a bad interview. I actually really, really liked it. I just wish that she pushed a little bit more. Okay. So he was initially he was using words like strong, powerful, or something like that as a leader to describe his leadership. I believe my interpretation, the word that he was looking for was strict. He was very, very strict when it comes to things, when it comes to recording, when it comes to vision and whatever. So he's probably the kind that really wants everything in place, the planning in place and stuff like that. Um so so I believe though, but the word, I don't think he meant powerful. I don't think he meant pushy. I think what he meant was strict. He was very strict with the way that he run the group. Because I do remember, he also said that when it is not work, he does not really do anything. Like the other six would actually drive the boat, or drive the car or drive the truck when it is not about work. It's just him when it is work. So I think that's the word that he was looking for. He was very, very strict as a leader. Okay. Um, now, and one of the reasons I wish you really push this topic is also, he also said that whenever they tell me, we appreciate you as a leader, like we see you, we see your efforts, we're glad that you are our leader. He said that it makes all the stress goes away. If you would remember, he has emphasized so many times in the past that his role as a leader is also evolving, that he does not control the group anymore, he does not control the members anymore. And I think that is very telling, because for half of his life, he has been defined as the leader of BTS. And then for half of his life, for, as he said, the first 8, 9 years, because he was primarily the one, I guess, together with J Hope and Suga, they were driving the creative direction of BTS. That has been his identity, right? And then they all went solo, and each member sort of found their own success. Um, I think because he lost that seat, he lost that part of his identity because the members don't necessarily need the same intense guidance anymore. I think that's also costing him sort of anxiety, right? That uh, w- a lot of people would claim that they like change, but not a lot of people can actually deal with change. Or sometimes it's just naturally hard to deal with change. And I think that's what he's going through right now. Like he's dealing with change. His leadership, his role as a leader is actually changing because it's not guidance anymore, because they kind of know what they want. The members kind of know what they want. So I guess he's trying to find the balance of how he could guide the group and also respect the members' vision for themselves. So he did say that it's more the way I interpreted his what he said, because he said something like, if everyone is comfortably sitting in a couch and the window has to be closed, at this stage the leader has to stand up and close that window, right? So I think what he's saying is that more it's more about initiating the project, initiating the group, initiating things rather than actually setting directions, because the members can already do that. They have their own visions now. So and I think as they go through their journey, because they all said that they want to do this for as long as they can, longer than what people think. They want to continue being a group. I think that's what he's trying to find the balance on, like how can, because the all each member has sort of developed their own creative identity. Now it's up to him to try and bring everybody together, not necessarily to set direction, but just to move things towards starting something. um so yeah, it's going to be interesting how he will see himself, his role actually evolve. Yes, I do feel that um he's more of a curator now than a director. I agree with that. um I, yeah, I just wish that she pushed it a little bit more. This is something I'm really interested in learning, because it's just even the way that he led the team before. I'm actually very interested in learning that. And then how he's actually leading them now, and also understanding his psyche on how that's actually affecting him. Um Part of it, like when he said before that up until Dynamite, he felt like he had a good hold of the vision of BTS. Like he kind of knew where that direction is going to take him, where BTS is headed. And when they got Butter, I felt like he felt, at least my interpretation is that it kind of disoriented him, because through his leadership, he was able to push the group to a meter behind the finish line, right? A meter away from the finish line. But then it was something else that pushed them to the finish line. It wasn't his direction. So I feel like that kind of disoriented him, because it's like doing a job and not being able, and being take and not being able to finish it. Like someone took away that opportunity for him to finish the job that he started. So okay. Um I know that you understand what I'm trying to say, but I wish she just pushed it a little bit more. So because I really am interested, like what is it? What how does he feel now? How is he, like what exactly is his role now? Right? Like after all the successes, it's just so hard to um okay, one example I can give you, concrete example, is that when everyone was trying to convince BTS to use Buddy to Buddy with the longer uh, Arirang version. If you would remember that, the longer Arirang sample. And no one could get them to say yes. And I don't think P Dog is necessary. I don't think P Dog is a pushover. I don't think you'd be able to work with BTS if you're a pushover. You have to learn how to express yourself and make yourself heard and stuff. So, but even P Dog couldn't convince them to get the song with a longer sample. That they actually had to take Bang Shiyuk to talk with them. And the way that he talked with them was just an absolute master class in how to talk with BTS. But the one thing I realized is that how are you, especially the way J Hope was so firm when he said that it's not about anything else, it's just bad music. That's actually what he said. Like, this not bad music. He's just saying that this one is just a better version, period. Like, musically, that's what he was saying. Like, I understand everybody's point, but at the end of the day, the one with the shorter version is just better musically, period. And if you are talking to a group who's had numerous number one in Billboard Hot 100, filled stadiums after stadiums, they've had all individual successes. Several of them actually also had number one as individuals, and three of them actually had the biggest tour for a solo artist in South Korea. How are you going to argue with that, right? You can't, because you've never had the success that they've had. So I guess that's the same for RM. Like, how are you going to tell these people individually, these people, that they're wrong when they have proven themselves to be more than capable of running their own career? And so he needs to find that balance. How can you bring these people together that are individually successful so that you can move towards the same direction? Okay, and then he also said that he didn't do much in the album. Um, I I I think it is in relation to his role before. He's saying I didn't do much versus before. Like, if you would compare his contribution in this album versus his contribution before, he didn't do much. But I don't think he's saying I didn't do much, period. I think what he's saying is that if you compare his contributions before to his contribution now, he did less. Because as we know, each member led at least one track. So as compared to before, he was leading in all the tracks in Suga. Um, okay. Now, I also love that he disclosed something about his parents, because he does not do this usually. He doesn't talk about his parents a lot. He said that his father was a frustrated comic artist. As you know, I've been a fan since 2013. Never heard him say that. He's always talked about the work that his father did. He said that he was working in an oil company, I think. I can't remember the name of the oil company, but he said that his mother was a teacher. He never mentioned anything about his father being a frustrated artist. So, uh, RM wrote the lyrics for most of the songs. For most of the songs, yeah, but not all of it, as opposed to before when he would write 99% or 90%. Like, we know that Into the Sun was actually written by V. They Don't Know About Us was actually written by Jimin. And then you have Jungkook leading three of the songs, including Hooligan. And so he would, and then he wrote the rest. So, and then the rap, of course, except for Swim, the rappers actually wrote them. So I think that's what he was talking about when it used to be that he was writing 90% of the songs, or maybe even 95% of the songs. Now it's down to like 60. So I don't think he's saying I didn't contribute much. I think he's saying versus to before he didn't. SK Energy. Okay, SK Energy is the where his father used to work. So I appreciated he actually disclosed it. I thought that was absolutely funny when he said that his father is a frustrated comic artist, and that's probably why he was very, very supportive of what he was doing, because his father is a frustrated comic artist. So he kind of yes, the song in the Arirang album. Yes, yes. So that I appreciated that he did not disclose that. I wish he would show us some of the illustrations of his father. I'm sure that his father is good at illustrating because he said that he's a frustrated illustrator. He did say that, they came from poverty. I would assume that that was when his father was still not working, because I don't think he gave no indication that they were super poor when he was growing up. And his father was actually, he actually had a good job. He had a great job when he was growing up. So I think what he meant when he said we didn't have much, it was actually his father, when his father was younger. That's why his mother sort of directed him to become a corporate guy rather than an artist. Um, yes, his father, didn't his father talk about, yes. So he talked about the story about running away from Big and then meeting up with his father, and his father said that if I don't push you to go back to the dormitory and continue what you started, you're going to blame me someday. So his father said, you have to go back and finish what you started. I thought so too. And his mom broke one of his mics. um I don't think she broke one of his mics. She bought him a mic, and that was his sign that she now supports his desire to become a rapper, because she bought him a mic. It was Suga whose parents broke his stuff, but not him. I think they were just like not agreeing to him not becoming a rapper at the beginning, but which they did later on. Okay. I kept hearing that JK also helped on the Arirang album, but don't know if that was true. Yes. All of them did. All of them wrote at least one track. Actually, all of them, except Jin, all of them contributed to at least two tracks. At least two. JK did four, contributed to four, and he led two. The way for you to know who in BTS led, is to look at the credits who's first. Who among BTS's name appears first, then that's the one who led the development of that song. That's how you can know. They said that, by the way. Okay. All right. So going back, Damien, when he talked about reading books, and he did say that he doesn't read as much as he used to. I'm sure he still reads, but I think what he's saying is that he used to read a lot and now he doesn't. But that's another topic. What actually interested me was when he said that um, he read this book 3 times, and he described the opening, that was what really grabbed him, and that became, as we know, became the basis of Wings, right? That became the foundation of Wings. So one of the many accusations thrown at BTS is that they weren't driving the creative and the narrative of their eras. A lot of people insisted that no, the ideas are coming from um, the staff members, and BTS would just either agree or disagree. I guess with this, we now know that that's not true. RM confirmed that he actually read the book when he was still younger, like very, very young, and he read it 3 times or 4 times. But the other interesting thing is that if my theory is right, my theory is that it was actually Suga who brought in Jungian psychology, primarily because of two things. Because Suga was actually seen reading the book, and also because during interviews, he was actually the one answering questions about it. So whenever a question was thrown about Jungian psychology, it was actually Suga who would answer it. So I thought it seems like this is a Suga driven narrative, this era, Map of the Soul, at least the concept that they had was driven by Suga. Now, if that is true, if my theory is true, um, and Damien was actually brought in by RM, this kind of gives you a good idea on how different they are. The two are in how, I guess, in how they take inspiration for their work. Because if you would look at, we now know that Suga's August D was created when he was still in high school. That's when he actually had created that character. And then RM does not really do what Suga did. He did not continue one narrative across three albums, which Suga did, right? So you have August D, D Day, uh, what was the third, the other one? D2 and then D Day. So, and then he was playing with one narrative, one story that he was continuing and then ending on the third one. As opposed to RM, if you look at his albums, those are just four different albums altogether, including the first one that he had. So it gives you an idea on how different they are in the way that they form their creatives, in the way that they form their narratives. So it was just very interesting to see, especially when he started talking about Damien and how it actually inspired him. Now we know that this was driven by him. The story was driven by him. We also know that Wayang Yonwa is a magnum opus of Suga. And my theory is that Map of the Soul actually came from Suga. I His father wanted to be an animator. Yes, his father wanted to be an animator. Correct. Yes, they wrote the bulk of Into the Sun, bits from Jimin, the bridge, I believe, and the part of Dawn. Yes, the part of Dawn that was from him, and the bridge. Yes, that's from Jimin. I think RM writes snapshots of life in his music. He did say this. He said that he kind of the reason he was actually naming his albums based on colors before, if you notice, he had mono and then he had indigo. He said that he kind of wanted to do something like how Adele is doing it, where Adele would actually name her album based on her age, because it kind of um captures that stage in his life. So it is true that he captures like chapters of his life. So after he released Indigo, he did say that that was my 20s. Like, this kind of caps my 20s. This is the story of my 20s. So yes, he confirmed that he sort of writes to talk about chapters in his life, as opposed to Suga, who writes to tell a complete story of his journey, if that makes sense. um Okay, next. Have you heard about this person? We'll talk about Cordis after this one. Also, I thought it was interesting that he said something about him wanting to be alone because he likes not crowd, but company. He likes company. So, as you know, I'm studying psychology. So, I've read about this, and it's called the um, need for affiliation. So it's a person. It's not really. It's a personality motive. It's not a type of personality, but it is a personality motive where you are um you have this need to maintain connection, to maintain relationships. What you that's part of how you process your experience and how you solidify your images, is by experiencing it, so with other people. And that is a sign of extroversion, but it's not the sole determinant. In other words, you can't conclude that just because he loves company, you can't say that that automatically makes him extroverted. So it's more like just one of the many things that could be used to actually say that he's extroverted, but not the sole determinant. But it was very interesting because when he first said it, when he was talking about like his need for company, one of the things that I thought was, okay, that this is going to be hard in a marriage for him in a marriage. And that's probably why he said that he doesn't like um uh he probably that he doesn't wanted to get married at some point, he said, or that he wasn't sure if he's right to it is right for him to be married. It's probably this, because he has a need to be connected with people, not just one person, but like several people at the same time. But then he also said something very insightful, and that is that he was working on being still. So he's aware that he has this need to connect with other people, but he also seems to be working on how to be still. Okay. So I thought that's progress, I guess. He Because we all need it. We all need to feel okay being alone. And that, I think, will prime us for any kind of relationship. Okay. So he's that kind. He thinks out loud and he processes experience by verbalizing it. So he needs conversation, he needs relationship for him to continue. Okay. All right. Next. Do you still hear me? Do you still hear me okay? Okay. So another thing that was so interesting for me, and also I wish the host actually pushed, is when he said that this album was very confused. So he said that they lack like a consensus, um, and that at the end of it, like to the very end, they never had like one specific consensus on how the album was going to be. So he said this album is actually very confused. So I was trying to interpret what he said, and I think um, one of which is, from his point of view, he did say that he does not speak for the members anymore. That's one thing for sure. Second is that he does not lead them anymore, not in the way that he used to, I guess. But I think so. Based on that, I think what he's trying to say is that he doesn't. The group does not have the like solid direction anymore, the way that they used to before. Before they start learning writing the songs, they would usually sit down and have a concept, and we know that this is the concept that we're working on, and this is how we're going to be writing, these are the visuals and whatever. But this time they lost that. They don't have they and intentionally, I think they decided not to do the narrative and decided to just write on their own. So I think this is them learning how to write just based on their own experiences instead of tethering it against a narrative. So I believe that's what he was trying to say when he said this album is very confused because it's not based on any narrative anymore, just based on them. So probably also one of the those reasons is that, as he said, he does not have any that much control over the group anymore. This is like the members have their own ideas, they have successes on their back pockets, and they also have individual creative identity. So for him, it's now a business of trying to get everybody together to move towards the same direction instead of setting the creative direction and then having everybody move to push that creative direction. They don't have that anymore. So I think that's what he said, or at least that's what he meant when he said this album is very confused because they're not working the same way anymore. No more narratives, no more specific story to work on. It's just them and their music. Curating, yeah, Bang Luna, curating. He may not verbally talk to the members, but gives a good side eye when he needs to get out his opinion. Probably as a married couple, we do have connection to other people. That is healthy. Okay. So in the end, I do think, as I've said in the interview, this is one of the best interviews of him. But I just felt that, and this is more me being an army, like wanting to really get to know more about his thoughts and the way that he processes things. I think I wish there were just more effort to try and push certain topics, but I also recognize that it could very well be the language barrier between the two. So maybe if there was like maybe there was an interpreter, I don't know, like maybe if there was someone there that where RM could like turn to for specific phrases that he can't get out or just couldn't get at that moment, maybe it would have been better. Maybe it would have allowed the host to sort of pry him a little bit more. One of the funniest portions for me was when he talked about short form content. He said that he's so worried about it because he said that he gets distracted a lot. So he does not really, like, he used to read a lot and now he doesn't anymore. And he said that that's kind of concerning for him, but he also can't pry his mind away from the short form content or whatever. And so I also found it funny that the host said like, "Oh, that's so true," because we do experience it. Like personally, when I start scrolling, I'm like, "Okay, you gotta give yourself a time because you can't spend your entire day just scrolling on TikTok because it is addictive. It's like dopamine after dopamine after dopamine. So this concern is very real." Okay. It's amazing how they matured and are able to accept each other individual opinions. Very much so. Yes. Okay. So again, that entire interview I think was one of the best he's ever had. I just wish there was a little more push just for me as a selfish army who wants to know more. I wish she could have expounded on some topics more. But one of the best interviews ever. Certainly, like hands down. And I also think that there is, if you watch this and you watch the interview of Brian of Rolling Stone, you can hear the difference in his tone. Like here, he feels more open and more relaxed, like just the tone of his voice. When he was getting interviewed by Brian, because probably because they were still in the process of finishing the album, the tour has not started, the album has not been dropped. There's still a lot of like what ifs in his head, and he's not certain about the result of his work. But I feel like now, because he's able to perform on stage, he knows that the results of the album was great. He feels like, to a certain degree, like validated to a certain degree. So yeah. Okay. I would love for Bella to have each member on that couch. Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm making you laugh. I think that would interrupt the flow of the interview if she asks questions. Well, she would shift. Like she would end a certain topic and then shift to another. So I thought like maybe if you could just follow up before you shifted, maybe. But I do understand though, usually these interviews are timed. So the mere fact that she got 14 minutes out of RM is actually pretty amazing. That means that they booked him for like an hour and a half. So I think one part of it is also the limitation in time. I acknowledge that. I interview people, so I know. um, my feed is lagging. It's fine for everybody else. Is the feed lagging for you? The feed is lagging. I think new roles have shifted and they may have matured as artists independently as well as people that that they are learning to apply it in a group setting for sure. I disagree with that, Miss Fairlane. He still has to be a leader when he's on stage. That was proven recently in a concert. He definitely has to be a leader. He's still the leader. Sounds like they needed to figure out how to work together again. I think it will be a continuous process because they will continue evolving as people. Especially, it seems that each of them is sort of solidifying their plans, not solidifying, but sort of confirming that they're going to be releasing their solo albums. In this interview, RM said that he's going to be releasing, like he said, that in my next solo work. So that's that. And then Shoga and then J Hope said they booked their own sessions, which means that they are releasing their own solo songs at the very least, if not an entire album. Jimin said, not Jimin, Jungkook said that he actually wants to do release his solo album. He just said that he's going to be waiting, like playing it by ear when he can do that. So it seems that every one of them, or at least 4 out of 7, have already expressed that they are going to do solo projects. So, and when that happens, when you have experiences of your own, of course that's going to evolve you as a person. So I think them trying to learn together, learn how to be together again, and J- RM learning how to become a leader as the members evolve. I think that's just going to be like a continuous process. I don't think it's ever going to end. And yet Arirang still has a theme that flows really well. Yes, I think, and that I think it's all because they based it on their personal sentiment. I mean, the entirety of the album, each song was actually based on their own sentiment. So I think that sort of it just happened naturally, rather than they the way that they did it before, where they would sit down, agree on a concept, and then push that. Um, okay. RM does be still, but can give a good side eye when. Uh, okay. Before we move on to the next topic, I'm looking for questions. Producers also talked about Jimin helping bring the end part together too. Oh, the done that, yeah. So the bridge, I think, in that end part was Jimin. Yes, yes, they were having difficulty putting the ending together. Then Jimin gave it together. Why are we talking about that? Tae wrote the song with him, acknowledging that Jimin developed the bridge. Yes. Why are we discussing about that? Eh, anybody who claims that hasn't listened to them develop those ideas throughout the trajectory of the group. I remember the colors of their first colored mics. Oh yeah, I miss those mics, by the way. There are times and in any group where someone has to lead. Yes, RM is such a beautiful soul and a smart person. Yes, I agree with all of that. Have you heard the updates on their song Swim? You mean chart updates? Are you talking about chart updates? Okay, about 15 minutes left. About 20, not 15. Okay, so about 20 minutes, 19 minutes left. So let's talk about, I think I have enough time for this. So let's talk about the well, half of it. So let's talk about first about Cordis. Um so there was an article that several articles that was published criticizing the Cordis concert. I have not seen it yet. And I don't think they've actually decided to live stream it, which is kind of different from how other groups are actually doing it. So for Hybe, usually the first concert they would live stream. You can pay to view it. They didn't do it for Cordis. Now, one of the many complaints, there are three major complaints, is this, is that four. So one is that Cordis concert runtime is very short. I think it's 1 minute. Sorry, not 1 minute. 1 hour and 30. So that's one criticism. Um, Second criticism is that Big Hit is actually giving Cordis creative control. Now they're criticizing Big Hit for giving groups creative control, huh? Okay. Third is that CEO Shin Sonjo, if you would remember her, she used to head the talent and development of Hybe, is actually being blamed for letting that happen, meaning allowing Cordis creative control over their music and what they want to do. And number four, they stated that Cordis was actually disappointed with a bad feedback. So they said that after the concert on the 19th, Cordis went live and they said that they were disappointed about the bad feedback. Okay, so let me just clarify some things. Number one is I have not watched the concert. Okay. The other thing is that it's just so funny here because it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. Like, it's like if they give artists creative control, it's bad because they are doing things that does not agree with what other people actually want them to do. If they control the artists, then they're going to be accused of being the artists are going to be accused of being puppets, and the agencies being going to be accused of being a bully or controlling this. Like there's just nothing that you can do where you can that they will just you can, I guess, not do business. That's one thing that you can probably do, and not earn everybody's ire. Like no matter what you do, they can't win. Like this is absolutely ridiculous. Now, the one thing I want to emphasize is that this they are composed of 16, 17, 18-year old. There's only one 21-year-old there, which is James, and that's still very, very young. So when you allow artists of this that are this young to actually start creating music on their own and dictate their own creative energy, their creative direction, then you have to accept that they are going to be setting their creative direction according to how they think and experience. And 16 is not a lot of experience. That's just that. I mean, everyone keeps on talking about like, oh, why don't they just allow them to do music on their own? And the result is this exactly what Cortis is doing. You're going to hear a lot of their influences because that's the world that they know and that's the experiences that they have. It's going to take time for them to evolve, and they're probably going to evolve a little slower because they're experiencing success. So they're going to lean on what's working for them more. So you want creative freedom for 16-year-old, then that's what you get. Influences. You will hear their influences. They're going to be talking about red, red, and green, green. That's what you get because you want them to dictate their own creative direction. Okay. Um, I'm still happy they did not push Cortis to immediately do large concerts. Yes. Now I'm getting it. I actually get why they decided to do smaller venues. And then in Big Hit, as in many label, all the labels actually under Hybe, as you know, the only agency that did not follow Hybe's direction to separate the business from the creatives was Adore. And we now know what happened to that. So they're probably not going to allow that to happen again. But in every label in Hybe, the creatives is separate from the business. And so Shin So Jong is not necessarily a creative person. He's a talent development person. So most likely she is allowing the assigned the head producer of each group to sort of lead that group, the creatives of that group. But then she is getting blamed. They're like, oh, she's allowing this group, and this is the first group that debuted under her leadership in Big Hit. So they're blaming her. Okay, the tallest one is Martin. So also in that live stream, which I actually watched, they did not imply and they also did not say that they were disappointed with the feedback. That did not happen. I actually watched that live stream. They did not say that. They just said that they acknowledged that there were feedback from fans complaining about the number of times that they sang one song. I believe they sang one song 5 times or something like that. And they said that, can you just enjoy the concert for what it is? So, but they did not say they're disappointed. They nothing of that sort. So people are putting words into their mouth. They did not say that. I love Cortis, so don't think I'm talking crap about them. Okay, next. I feel like they're kind of starting something new, like a different format of a concert, because they kind of kept on repeating in that live stream party, like enjoy it for what it is. Let's just party or something. So I feel like they're sort of experimenting on how they can kind of spin the nature of concerts instead of just them singing songs. I feel like they're wanting to get people to participate in their concerts. So that's they may be starting something now. Whether or not they're going to succeed, who knows? But they're definitely starting something. Okay, next. I'll just say I hope that he changes some of his ways. Who? Okay, next. Cortis seems to be a new group Korea can control. If you look and listen to the narratives online, a lot of people are very, very frustrated because Cortis seems to be doing things that other groups are not doing. So, for example, um, this is the first group ever that have leaned very, very heavily into their loyalty and admiration and praise for their label mates. They did not like if you would and the reasons are understandable, by the way. Like if you could remember TXT in their beginning, they were very much trying not to associate to BTS. Like they would not mention BTS. Whenever they get asked, they're very careful in how they answer. And I understand why they went towards that route. Because coming from being the first group after BTS, you don't want people to accuse you of becoming successful only because you're associated with BTS. So I understand that route. But Cordis does not spare themselves of praising BTS, of working with label mates, of talking about Big Hit, all of those things. And I feel like they're throwing people off. Like, why are you doing this? So, why are you not avoiding mentioning their name? Why are you working with constantly working with other label mates? The amount of dance challenges that they've done with their label mates is unbelievable. So I feel like, and then, so that's one. Second is that a lot of their promotions are actually happening in overseas in the US instead of South Korea. And so their pull is now coming from other countries, and Korea doesn't like that because then they have nothing over their heads, nothing to control them over. They can't bully them the way that they've bullied Islet and Les Seraphim, because at that time these two groups were still very much relying on the local market. Cortis is not. Their numbers actually showed more contribution from the US than in Korea. And Korea doesn't like that. Again, because they are unable to control the group. So that, I think, and then the marketing concentration is on the West. So I think all of this, and the fact that they actually deliver the numbers, they're number one, they've on the charts, awards, their sales, they are proving that even when they don't succumb to the demands of Korean media, because they do very little Korean media promotions, they're still able to deliver the numbers. I think Korean media is starting to hate that. So you could count the number of times they've actually appeared in traditional media shows or have given interviews to traditional media journalists. It's usually podcasts or shows in other countries, but not necessarily in South Korea. That may start sounding familiar to you because that's the same strategy BTS has used in the promotion of Arirang. Although BTS has just completely forgone Korean media. For Cordis, it's so limited. The way that they have done it is so limited. I think it's zero interviews for traditional media for the second album. The first album, they kind of had some effort. The second album, they didn't do any kind of traditional media interview in South Korea. So I think that's part of it. They're frustrating. They're starting to frustrate the market. Not the market, but the journalists. And then they have some substantiated their success with their skill, obviously, because they can perfectly sing live, the kind of performance that they put out. So, but I think the one that everyone hates the most is this, just their undying loyalty and affection for their label mates and also for Big Hit. Like so many times whenever they are given an interview, whenever they go to an interview and they get asked about BTS, they would praise BTS so much. They would constantly say they paved the way, that we wouldn't be able to do all of these things if it wasn't for BTS. We're aware that we are in a big company because of BTS. They would constantly, like, they would give the interviewer more than what the interviewer is expecting. And they will do the same for Big Hit. They've repeatedly talked about the kind of freedom that they enjoy. They talked about participating in A&R even though they're not supposed to. They talked about insisting doing this and doing that. So all of those things is so frustrating for the Korean media because it's not in their playbook. So I think they have to get ready for the hate because they're going to get a little bit more in the especially if they continue being successful. They also confront narratives, which is also uncanny. Like a lot of whenever there are talks, like whenever there's a controversy, they would actually address it. The way that they address the criticisms of so called unquote fans, quote unquote fans, they addressed it. They said that just enjoy the concert. This is what we have for you. This is kind of something different. Why can't they start writing their songs? Who's not writing their songs? Okay, do you have questions? I have 6 minutes, so I don't think I'm going to start with the second half of the topic because I only have 6 minutes. I'll just answer some questions. What is so wrong with acknowledging the truth and the facts of the situation? Because they're not used to anybody in Hybe sort of being so open about the influence and the benefits that they get from Hybe. Because everyone has sort of veered away from it, avoided answering that question. Because, and I understand why they have avoided it, because you don't want others to think that you're successful because of BTS. But for some reason, Cordis just has a different philosophy. For them, it's like, you ask us about BTS, we're going to talk about BTS until you stop asking us about BTS. So, does Cordis have a color yet? No, they don't. I doubt Cordis really care about the comments. Probably, they're young. So they're probably like, bashful, hard-headed. The West means money, the East is home. Yeah, questions. We know how much saying BTS paved the way gets hated on for any other group or individual. It's beautiful and it's wholesome to see that, and proud of them. So I will be watching their concert. I still don't have a ticket actually, so I'm just hoping that I will miraculously get a ticket. But I will, and I'm going to give you my review and see if there's any truth to what people are saying. But I will watch. I'll see. Cordis is growing fast, but no compared to other new groups. They aren't pushing them to do big concerts or too many releases, which I think is healthy. Again, it's all. It's I think what's driving the creatives of Cordis is Cordis. I think they're the ones that are deciding it. There might be some market guidance, like right, like for example, um, I think the agency tells them like, oh, this month would be a good time to actually release a new album. So there are some guidance, but I don't think they're being pushed to do it. Cat's Eye concerts wears only 1 hour 45 minutes. Oh, Cat's Eye is 1 hour 45 minutes, but they were a lot of fun. There are colors. They are color outside the lines. What colors? Cordis is perfectly fine with that. They get support from Army because they're humble about their relationship personally and professionally with BTS members. At least Cordis different is different. Okay, so I will take this last 4 minutes to address something. Um, I have veered away from getting a moderator for the live stream, primarily because I like the free flowing conversation that you guys do, even if you're having your own conversation. I don't necessarily understand what it is that you're talking about. Um, but I have been getting messages about some people being uncomfortable about like arguments or whatever, because I don't really watch what you guys are talking about until it's time for me to actually look. I don't necessarily know which one is true and which one. So I would just encourage, so I can make a decision, if you can just send me messages on how you feel about the conversations. If you're getting distracted with like I don't know if there are arguments that are happening, let me know. Just send me a message. So and then I'll gauge. So maybe I'll go back to some of the conversations you guys are having and see, so let me know. Just send me a private message, DM me in Patreon or on Discord. Tell me how you feel about it. And if there need be, then I'll get a moderator. So um, yeah, that was the primary reason I wasn't getting a moderator, because I felt like we're all adults here. Part of freedom of expression is hearing things you don't want to hear from people you don't like. That's just part of it. So I thought like that's what it is. But then also I do understand that um I want to think the major reason that you came here is to hear me and what I have to say, and so sometimes that could distract, the conversations or the arguments could distract you from actually listening. So maybe there's a way for me to balance both. So let me let me hear your thoughts. So leave me messages. So if you think that it's time to actually get a moderator, I don't even know how to do that. Like, do they pay moderators? I don't know. Um, so let me know. Send me messages. The only thing that I would say is probably this, that um, if you want to express your opinion, you cannot demand other people to shut up about theirs. That being said, I always say, don't call people names. Don't ever say, when someone says something, don't say you're stupid, you don't think, use your brain. Don't use languages like that. You have to stick within what the person is saying. No call naming, no calling names, sorry, no calling names, no disrespect, of course. But again, if based on your inputs, if I feel that okay, it's time to get a moderator, then I will. Mods volunteer. They volunteer. Okay, I don't know. Okay. Let me know. Just send me a message so that I'll know. So that I can have a balanced view before I make a decision. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'll see you. I will do a live stream for members only on Friday. So I will show you all the tools. Let's go through all the data that you want to go through. And then the rest of you, I will see you Monday. Bye.